So Kamaru Usman is going to be fighting Tyron Woodley at UFC 235. This is going to be a great fight. It kind of came out of nowhere, if we're being honest. I mean, for the longest time, it looked like Tyron Woodley and Colby Covington were definitely next. Tyron had that very boring, very mediocre. It was a genius game plan against Demian Maia, but the fight with Demian Maia just wasn't an entertaining fight to watch. It really upset a lot of people. He lost a lot of fans for that, unfortunately. I hate to see guys suffer from a performance when really they went out and he did the game plan. It's just his game plan and the game plan his team came up with for this fight just isn't what people want to see these days. Now, I'm not saying that's a good thing or a bad thing. It's just the way it is, and he understands that now. He got a lot of hate after that fight, went through it, but then he come back out and fought Darren Till and absolutely won the fans' hearts. I mean, that was an incredible showing. That fight was great to see. I do think it was a little early for Darren Till to be fighting someone like Tyron Woodley, but he came out, he put on a good performance, and it's definitely not going to be the last we'll see of Darren Till. But Tyron Woodley flourished in that fight. He looked great. His hands were very sharp. His wrestling was on point. He stood with Darren Till, which I think that's where everyone thought the fight was going to be won for Darren Till, is with how technical and how on point his striking is. But Tyron Woodley's got that crazy power and can absolutely put you out with one punch in a split second. So it's not surprising to see how that fight went. I do think Darren Till is going to be great one day, but right now we're talking about Woodley and Usman. But I was really looking forward to Colby Covington fighting Tyron Woodley, just because of all the trash talk that's been going back and forth. I mean, if we're being honest, Colby Covington's trash talk is mediocre at best, but it's working. I feel like he's got some sort of coach telling him what to say, but that's kind of besides the point. His trash talk's inching in a better direction. We'll put it that way. But it's got him into a great place. He went to the White House, for God's sake. He's got the interim belt. I think if what Dana is saying is true, and we have no reason not to believe Dana, but if what he's saying is true, then Colby Covington actually turned down a few fights because I guess he's in his head, or it's the character he's playing right now. He's too good to fight someone that's not the champion or not the best in the division. And maybe that's the case. Maybe Colby Covington is good enough to fight with the number ones in the world. But it just seems a little weird that they put Kamaru Usman, who came out of nowhere. I mean, given, again, he had a great performance against Demian Maia, and actually just beat Rafael dos Anjos as well, which is a straight killer. So that goes to show Usman is for real. His wrestling is crazy good. He's very strong. He's got sharp hands. He's very powerful as well. I think it's going to be a great fight. Both of them are crazy good wrestlers. I mean, Tyron Woodley trains with Ben Askren, for God's sake, and Ben Askren, we all know now, I think we're all learning anyway, how great he is and how untouchable he seems to be in his fights. I've been following him for a long time, and I know a lot of hardcore MMA fans have been following him for a long time, and I'm glad to see he's finally getting his shot. But I think that also leads into why they made the Usman Tyron Woodley fight, because if they put Kamaru Usman against Ben Askren, where they had that little scuffle backstage, the drama was there, the storyline was there, it would have been a good promotion for the fight. They had a lot of content to promote that fight. But if they would have put him against Usman against Askren, then they would have had to have put Colby Covington against Tyron Woodley. And then what happens if Tyron Woodley and Ben Askren both win? We all know they're not going to fight each other. They've made that very clear. So then the UFC's in a really weird position, having to figure out what the number one contender can't fight the champion. So where do you go from there? And I think that's what it all boils down to. I think they didn't make those matchups that seemed like the obvious matchups, just simply because if if it turned out a certain way, then the UFC and Tyron Woodley and Ben Askren were going to be put in a really weird position. Ben Askren and Tyron Woodley have made their stance very clear on that, and we both know they're not going to change their mind and just all of a sudden want to fight each other, no matter it's for the championship or what amount of money. They've just got that bond, and that's respectable. But the UFC is not going to put themselves in that position, and that's why Kamaru Usman's fighting Tyron Woodley. Now, as far as the prediction for the fight and how I think it's going to turn out, I do think Woodley's going to squeeze this one out. He's proven to be a great fighter, even though he had that lull against Damian Maia and just bored people to sleep, if I'm being honest. But he's shown that he's great. He's shown that he's one of the best in the world right now, not only his division. So I do think he's going to pull it out. I don't think they're going to wrestle very much. These guys have got some slight animosity there, and they both come out to scrap every time they fight. They both come out to put on a show, and Tyron has learned that he has to put on a show. So we know he's going to stand and bang. It may turn into a wrestling match, but I'm going to say Tyron Woodley takes it in the middle of the fourth by, we'll say, TKO. I don't think he's going to tap him out. I don't think anyone's getting tapped out in this fight. I think they'll stand and bang, and I think it's going to be a great fight for the fans. And, of course, the rest of the card is crazy. You've got John Jones, Anthony Smith. It's going to be a good night of fights. So I'm hyped for it. It's March 2nd. A little bit away, but it's definitely worth the wait, and I'll definitely be buying the pay-per-view and, of course, doing some coverage after the event. So definitely stay tuned. I appreciate you guys tuning in today. Keep on the lookout for new uploads every day. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.